I'm not single. To me that implies, not having been in a serious relationship. And he's not my ex-husband, because we didn't not get along, or we didn't, get divorced. It wasn't anything that was of our choosing. I mean, if he wasn't sick, we'd still be together. We didn't, not get along or anything like that. So, yeah, I'm a widow.
I do fear for it, especially because I don't want anybody to go through what we went through. I don't want our family to have to go through it again, let alone anybody else's. So, I know a couple people that have family members that died of this, and it's sad, but the story's all the same. We found out and hit us like a ton of bricks, and then before you know it, the person's gone,
We met in college at Atlanta Community College. We were in the same chemistry class, and the professor put us together as lab partners. We start off as friends because I had just come out of a bad relationship, and we were hanging out at school, studying together, hanging out at the mall, and then eventually we went on a date and started dating and moved in together, and eventually moved on from Atlanta Community College to Stockton College, and we moved in together and went to college together, got married, had a baby. He got sick in February of '07, so we had been married for 6 years. We had known each other a good long time. We were married and supposedly at the beginning of our life together, and we had just moved up here. We had the new house, we had the new baby, we were talking about another one. Once we got settled, I had started a new job. We were just, transitioning in what we thought was the beginning of our life together. Even though we had been together for so long already, we've been together 10 years already. We were just, in our minds, we were like, this is the beginning, we're new. We're newlyweds, kind of, we have a new baby.
It was roughly, like I said, a week after his 30th birthday, so that was March of 2007, and then he died in July of 2007.
For pancreatic cancer, there is no early detection. Once you find out you have pancreatic cancer, it's because it has already spread to other areas in your body, which is causing the pain or discomfort that makes you aware of it.
He was having stomach issues.
And he thought it was an ulcer. So because he worked in a pharmacy, he was friendly on a professional level with our doctor, our primary care physician. And he called him on the phone and told him his symptoms. And his doctor said, you're 30 years old, you're probably having an ulcer, brand new baby, brand new house. He worked an hour away, so he was driving to work all the time. He says, you're probably just stressing out. I'm going to prescribe you this medication for the ulcer. Went on the medication, allotted the time for it to start working, it didn't work. Then the doctor said, it could be something else. Then that wasn't it either. So finally it got to the point where he couldn't sit, he couldn't stand, he just wasn't comfortable. And it got so bad that he was writhing in pain one night while we were sleeping. And I got fed up with him, and I put him in the car and took him to the emergency room. We took him to Cooper, which is a teaching hospital, so there were like 1 billion doctors in the ER.
So the doctor started running blood tests and stuff like that, and then CAT scans and other things. And then he did start to get the jaundice, so he did start to turn a little yellow, so they knew that there was liver involvement too.
No, it can't be, I don't know, he's too young, blah, blah, blah. We have to get this specialist to come in and do this test and that test. And it turns out that he had pancreatic cancer, and it had already spread everywhere, and it was stage 4.
'Cause I've been trying to find out if an angel bends or breaks.
Because with the diagnosis like that, you don't want to, mess around, because it already has such a short lifespan, because the problem is when people seek help for it, it's already so far progressed that it's not They do have surgical procedures, but most people aren't even candidates at that point because the symptoms aren't, they don't present themselves until they're too bad, or they're usually in a different organ or something.
It's not like breast cancer where you will find a lump, or melanoma where you will see it on your skin. It's something that can really only be detected if you're getting MRIs or CAT scans every year, which who would do that? Or it's already spread and you're having symptoms of it.
You know, like in his case, the liver was being blocked, and that was causing some of the stomach symptoms.
I was in the room. He was admitted to the hospital because they had to do all these tests on him. And it was a seasoned doctor and a doctor in training, a resident. And they came in and they were looking all kinds of uncomfortable. They didn't know what to say, and his best friend was in the room with me, as well as my son. And they talked around it for about 15 minutes without actually saying the words stage 4, terminal. They said, they said pancreatic, they said all these big words, that basically mean cancer. And, it was like, okay, just say it a way that I can understand it. And what's our next step? What can we do? And they never said that it was terminal. They just said, well, these are the steps that you can take.
I mean, it's a constant battle, and he was determined to fight it. I mean, as most people, with cancer diagnoses are, especially having, less than a 2-year-old at the time. Nate turned 2 in August of that year, right after he died, so, obviously he didn't want to die.
That was starting on the chemotherapy and going once weekly or twice weekly, whatever the oncologist would prescribe for him, but they never said it was curative. They always said it was just, to help him. So basically it was like they were just prolonging his life as much as possible so he would be pain-free.
So, it was hard for all of us. At the same time, we all knew to some extent what was going to happen. Like, even if he was determined to fight it, and, we still had to be realistic that with him not being a candidate for the surgeries and stuff like that, and with a prognosis of pancreatic cancer as it is, I mean, it's like 6% survive 5 years. It's so grim when you get that diagnosis. So we knew that his chances weren't good. So luckily we all had I don't want to say enough time to spend with him, because obviously Nate will never have enough time to spend with him, but it, progressed enough that we could spend time with him and enjoy some time with him before he died. There were ups and downs. You would go from days of extreme sickness and pain and laying in bed and not eating to days where he would come out of the house at least, or,
We were able to, we knew it was going to happen, so we took a lot of pictures with Nate. We took a last family trip. We went down to Disney World. So we took Nate to Disney World when he was a baby. We took a lot of pictures. We did a lot of things. We went to the zoo and the beach, and we did a lot of things together as a family, so there would be that picture evidence for Nate. And I think it helped Joey a lot with him dealing with his own death. It was July 11th, 2007.
He called Bill and I and asked us to come over because he was in so much pain and was so weak that he couldn't go upstairs to get his medicine, and nobody was home. We kept trying to talk him into the hospital, and because Bill and I were both EMTs at the time, and we were like, we know what we're talking about. You need to go to the hospital. There's something wrong. So we finally talked him into it about 10 minutes before Michelle gets home. So he's like, all right, well, let me get dressed and go to the bathroom and get my stuff together. So luckily she got home in between that time, and he did. He went to the bathroom, and we heard a bang.
And he was sitting on the toilet, and he blacked out. And then we got him to the hospital right away. And they said, you know, it had taken a turn and it was spreading rapidly and they could do all kinds of surgeries and all this other stuff. And I just said, no, it's not going to cure him. And if they had done the surgery, it wouldn't have improved his quality of life. He would have still been unconscious. He would have still not been able to leave the hospital and go to the zoo with us. So that was it.
Luckily, he came back enough, like, cognitively to be able to have conversations with each one of us before they intubated him, so that we could talk to him, and everybody, you know, at that point kind of said their goodbyes.
It was just, you know, he gave his permission for me to date and fall in love and be with somebody else. He just, you know, wanted to make sure that I was okay emotionally, because he knew how bad it was when my mom died. And he's like, I know you're trying to be strong for everybody and for Nate and for me. And he was just concerned for me.
You know, he was happy for me that I had found a great husband, and he was so supportive and that I was well taken care of. And, you know, to go back to school and reach my full potential, pretty much.
He was in the hospital. He was in ICU at Cooper. And the last week of his life, he got transferred to hospice.
And hospice was, I think, a really good experience for all of us. I mean, he was not, the whole time he was there, he wasn't lucid at all, because they keep them very sedated and manage their pain. I mean, that's what it's about. It's about, you know, giving them a good, painless end of life. I mean, you go there when you know that you're not gonna live. I mean, it's not about, you know, having them hooked up to machines and stuff like that at the hospital. It's not about sustaining life. It's about making a good end of life. He was there for 3 days before he died.
So the only time I was really there alone with him was after he died. And I was waiting for the funeral home. Like, everybody had left, and I was sitting there waiting. That was really the only time we were alone. It was just a really weird situation. I knew it happened, but I couldn't believe it. And he just looked different, and he felt different, like his skin felt different, because I was lying in the bed with him. And it was just so weird, because I would crawl in the bed with him all the time when he was in the hospital. And I would lay with him all the time, and even though when he was unconscious, like, he couldn't, like, hold me or put his arms around me or anything, he was still, like, there. But he just wasn't there.
Laughter definitely surrounded his death. It was definitely it was humbling to see how many people came and how many memories we had together. It was fun. I think hard parts for me are that, you know, the way I feel for Nate is, you know, I just feel so bad he'll never get to have a dad.
Why my dad? Why, when I was a baby, why can't he be here right now? Why can't we talk to him? Where is he? Because we're not religious, so we don't go to church, you know. I just told him he's in heaven, and, you know, that's where you go when you die. And so then, you know, when we were walking, we were talking about that, when we were in the Pancreatic Cancer walk. And then he was going like this, because he wanted to fly up to heaven to talk to his daddy. So he just trying to get him to understand what it is about death and about why we can't communicate with him anymore. I just tell him, daddy's in your heart, and you can talk to him, but he won't answer you. but you can talk out loud to him or you can talk quietly to yourself. If that'll help you, or if you have questions about Daddy, you can always ask me. Or, you know, we're still very close to his, you know, Joey's family, so he can talk to them about Daddy all the time, so.
Yeah, he definitely talks about him and asks about him. And he goes through periods of missing him like crazy. Where I'll say he misses Daddy, and then on the other end too, he goes through periods where he says like, I want a younger sibling and stuff like that. Not, I guess, fully grasping that you need a mommy and a daddy, you know, for that.
I think he sees other kids that he knows in school, his cousins, they all have dads. And if their dads and moms aren't together, at least their dads are still there. You know, they're still friends of his, even at 5, have divorced parents, and he sees mom picks him up sometimes, dad picks him up sometimes, and he knows what that's about. My cousin is divorced and remarried, so his cousin has a dad that he sees on Saturdays, and then his stepdad lives at home, so he knows what that's all about, but he just doesn't have anybody. So I think he just misses that male figure in his life. He has me, he has my aunt, he has his grandmother, he's surrounded by women. So I think that's hard for him, just how to be a boy. How to be a boy in the world. I can't really show him that.
My dear, I'll give you 60 seconds to disappear. And if you don't get out of here,